And we continue now with a special edition of Hannity as we go back to Washington, D.C. and our own Frank Luntz.
You've heard tonight from the Republicans and you've heard from the Democrats. Now we're going to hear from an individual who tried to straddle the fence. Senator Tom Coburn, there was a period when you were part of the Gang of Six, when you were trying to find some sort of compromise. Why did you take that middle-of-the-road position? If you can all grab your dials, let's start reacting now.
Because the only way you solve our problems, and our problem is going to affect a Democrat or a Republican exactly the same if we don't solve them. The only way you solve it is recognize that you have to meet in the middle to solve our country's problems. If you say, I'm here and you have to come to me, you'll never get them there. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the political right or the political left. This country isn't extreme on either end. We're center right.
But you did anger some Republicans by being open to some things that some of your colleagues were not open to. If you all can again react to it, tell me about that.
Well, first of all, I'm an American, a husband, a father, a doctor, long before I'm a Republican. If I don't solve problems for our country, it impacts my grandchildren, it impacts my family, it impacts my community. So I think we have our allegiances messed up.
How do you react to that? Positive? Yes or no? How do you feel? Who's got a positive reaction to what he just said? Raise your hands if you got a positive reaction. Why so positive?
Because it's all about meeting in the middle and having some kind of compromise, which there hasn't been in Washington for a long time.
Why so positive?
If you don't compromise, you're going to polarize the people that don't like a particular strategy. Right now, we have to get everybody on the same boat to fix the problem.
I think your point about the future is very critical. This is about our kids, our grandkids, and our country.
Okay, if you wanted to compromise so much, and how come you couldn't get more of your Republicans to assist with that?
Why couldn't I get more Republicans to be there? Well, I didn't ultimately end up there. And let me explain that for a minute. To be able to get us out of our problem, it's our problem, all of our problems, we have to first of all become accountable to the American people. Number two is we have to learn to control what we can control. And number three is we have to cut what isn't helping anybody today. So if we don't do all three of those things and we don't meet under those premises, having an agreement to say you have an agreement, if it doesn't solve the problem, which was my difficulty and why I left, we didn't solve the problem. If you really want to solve our country's problem, the federal government has to have a take out of the GDP at less than 18.8%.
Do you agree?
Yes.
All right. So how do you do that? That means the federal government has to become a quarter smaller than what it is today.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
It's twice as big as it was 10 years ago. So that's not hard to do. What is hard to do is to get the consensus to go there. And the reason we can't get the consensus is because most members of Congress don't know the facts.
Do you agree with that?
Amen. Yes.
Who voted for Barack Obama here? Who's got a positive reaction to what he's saying? Even though you're an Obama voter, tell me why.
Because he's talking about everyone coming together to take advantage of basically just culling the fat from anyway. I believe those things need to be done. There's a lot of programs that are running right now that don't really serve too much of a purpose, or whatever purpose they were supposed to serve, they didn't make it.
Well, I'm an Obama voter that screwed up with my choice. I agree because our government has blown way out of proportion, and we have to rein in this. We have to do something to fix the amount of spending that's going on, and it's.
Do you guys think he can be successful?
Yes. Yes.
You don't. All the way in the back. Why don't you think he'll be successful?
Well, because first of all, and I'm a Republican who voted for Barack Obama, just so you know, longtime Republican. I don't believe that the size of government is really that serious of an issue. See, because I haven't heard anyone define the size of government. I don't know what we're talking about in terms of employees, in terms of dollars. I hear this argument, but this argument isn't really crystallized in my mind yet. So people say, okay, the size of government, you want to cut government. You want to cut local government, state government, federal government? What do you want to do? So I'm hearing
Everyone at 50, very quickly, specifically, what would you cut?
Oh, I'm going to put out Monday, we're going to have a press conference, we're going to show you $9 trillion worth of duplication, waste, inappropriate functions of the federal government. And remember, all you got to do is choose half of it. And we're going to show you $9 trillion. We know more about the federal government than any office in Washington, and we have researched. We're going to put the details behind it. It'll all be online, searchable database where you can actually see everything we're recommending and why we're recommending it.
So what do you think of this thing overall? Positive or negative? Positive. Tom Coburn, Dr. Coburn, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
And thanks, Frank. And coming up, this Congress has possibly more Republican women than any other in U.S. history. Coming up next, Frank brings a dozen GOP congresswomen into the debate in a television first. That straight ahead.